Yeah, it's definitely a pleasure to be here. I'm not quite sure how I got here, but it's definitely a pleasure to be here. Pastor, I'm not accusing you of anything, man, because you are a pastor. Uh, but I'm still trying to understand where we got lost in translation. You told me I was doing a virtual Bible study appearance. How we get here? Yeah, I don't feel set up, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, as we were getting acquainted during a round of golf, because he's been giving me great instruction, I think I hit a good shot, so I was celebrating. And in the midst of my little solo celebration, out of nowhere, he said, "You got 30 minutes to deliver your message on Father's Day." And I was like, "What?" And he said, "Man, I see something in you. You got to do it." And I'm hoping whatever you see is godly, man. I'm a crybaby, so y'all just beware. And I will ask you all for forgiveness ahead of time because, whatever lack of etiquette I have, I wasn't raised in a church, but God's always been a part of my life. Yeah, this unexpected journey is definitely a little bit out of my comfort zone. But I can't pretend like I didn't ask for this platform. I actually prayed for it a year ago. So this is very surreal for me. When I was trying to prepare for this speech, which I now believe was intended to be a sermon, I imagined myself as part of the congregation and considered what I would want to hear from a father on Father's Day. So my buddy gave me some good advice. He said, stand out of the way and allow the message to take the lead. And I fully intended on doing that. But I'm also a fatherless child, so I'm going to talk about myself just a bit. In this next chapter that I wrote, I entitled A Father's Forgiveness for a Good Man's Killer Mentality. Because at the age of 13, I accepted what I believed and what I perceived to be a promise from God. And it bound me to this truth that He has a purpose for my life. But due to my cognitive disorders, I struggle to make sense of it. As a teenager unfamiliar with the word, the promise felt a bit premature. The ideal of His grace and mercy. I didn't feel worthy, I didn't feel ready. But my reality was so toxic. But I will say, at the age of 13, I had unknowingly developed a killer's mentality. And worst of all, I had already marked my target. Too young to understand, but it was unconscious. My heart had absorbed so much pain and so much violence that my natural instincts were deadly. And I became a danger to myself. Misguided by my misperception of the world, I didn't understand that I had gaps in my cognitive development. Trauma does that to you. I didn't know my father well. I wish I did. I wish I knew what kind of man he was. Maybe he could have saved me from myself. But it wasn't meant to be. And to avoid all the psychological strain, I developed a very simple philosophy. It's best not to think about it, and it's best not to care. So I tend to space out when I'm unaware of life's intended meaning. And I allow my imagination to run wild. without a father to tell me otherwise, I made an executive decision to chase my dreams. Until eventually, it became tough to discern the truth from the fiction. Like I acquired this insatiable appetite to define my own greatness by chasing the passion, hoping that it would lead to God's purpose for my life. My desire to maximize my full potential is all I could think about. And from my perspective, God promised me. He promised me that if I gave you all my all, and I did it in a selfless manner, He would ensure that I reach my peak potential. And as a fatherless child with a killer's mentality, struggling with the conflicting concepts to believe or not to believe, trying to protect myself from myself, I had to find out if there was truth to this premature promise. I imagine to my peers I appeared unreasonable. My process was pretty simple. If it doesn't align with my mission, I don't give it attention. So they labeled me ADHD because I'm struggling to connect with the world. So I kept to myself. Never developed any real social skills. Hence the social anxiety. Hence the hat. Brothers, thank you for the solidarity, by the way. My greatest challenge thus far is learning how to be the father I never knew. And initially, I went with the militant mentality. You know, I'm ruling with the iron fist. I'm the head coach of my house. It's my philosophy, my way, my game plan. Either do your job or get replaced. My bride didn't take too well to that. So I was homeless for a minute. So I switched it up, and I gave my kids a lot of freedom to just be kids. I figured they had a lifetime to be adults. So I wanted them to maintain their childhood for as long as possible, for as long as I could sustain. But I was ignoring their social emotional development, mainly because I didn't know what it was. I had never heard of it. But now with this better understanding, I understand that it's important that they be able to manage and process their emotions. It's important that they build and maintain healthy relationships. It's important that they learn how to socially accept what comes with this world. I'm learning to. The ideal of getting out of the way of the message and allowing the message to speak for itself helps me with the clarity to deliver the words, not being in the way. Because this is coming from something higher than me. Regarding their overall development, it's vital that my kids were able to do all those three things that I just named, and yet, as the head of my household, as the father, as the husband, I was already absent of all three, trying to teach them what I didn't know. Wow. And some of the most respected advice I got was understand and recognize the gaps in your own social emotional awareness as well as your own cognitive development. And regarding this conflict resolution, and my zone is kill or be killed. And as a man, I allow my actions to speak for me. So if you want action, I'm always willing to fight for my survival. And in the end, you'll know exactly how I feel. It don't require me to say a whole lot. That's the killer mentality I developed as a fatherless child. That's all I knew. And that's a lot of information, what I deal with every single day. If God has a calling for my life, I'm willing to die for it. But with the the gaps in my cognitive development. I'm just hoping I'm not deceiving myself all over again because I already took a sledgehammer to my life one time. I don't know if I have it in me to do it again. And with this internal dialogue, he asked me what I was willing to sacrifice. And without hesitation, I said everything. Because everything is nothing if it's not divine. So when this eight-year-old kid threatened to kill me over in North Columbia while I was working with United Way, it triggered me because I saw my reflection. Almost 2 gaps, 2 generations in between us. And I knew what it felt like for him to be triggered. I was nearly 8 years old having nightmares of bodies hitting the ground, watching my family scatter for their lives as cops came to pick up my uncle to carry him away. And I had to say goodbye more than once. Yeah, I took that 8-year-old, I took him serious. Because I remember the last time I got triggered, I was actually working at the University of South Carolina. And I was privy to a lot of private information. In this one particular time, it was just me, the head coach, and one assistant coach. And I was told what was being shared was not to leave the room, which for me is easy. I don't talk to anybody. And then, in a not so subtle manner, I'm either being accused of sharing the information or I'm being asked to snitch on somebody. Either way, my character is being questioned. I didn't care for it. And I felt backed in a corner, and I came out swinging. It took me about 20 minutes to calm down. Public service announcement. Receive how you will. When a quiet person snaps, fill in the blanks. My shots were real, and I was eager to use them. Kill or be killed. Now, from my experience, there's only about a few fine dining establishments in Columbia, and there's one that I frequent more than the others because the crowd is my speed. It's a nice mixture of grown people with politicians, business people, real estate developers, money managers, and of course, a lot of our close relatives. And I'm in the process of networking, both professionally and personally. In this particular time, I have an associate with me. Now, from my perspective, he tends to drink more than he needs to sometimes, and he gets really, really loud, and he talks a lot, and it draws a lot of attention. And this particular night, it drew the wrong attention. So this dude comes up to me. He's freshly out. He's just did a longer than normal bid. And I gave him attention for about 2 minutes before I drifted off into my own little fantasy world. He had already lost me. It doesn't take much. I'm usually looking for a reason to escape a conversation. Yeah, it's real. It's real. It's real. I promise you it's real. And it's unconscious. It's unconscious. Please don't be offended. This is how I protect myself. But he alluded to having his own mental health issues. So I relaxed my stance a bit, pretended to pay him attention again through my body language, nodding, shaking, pretending to give eye contact. But whatever he said obviously set my associate off, because now the confrontation is very contentious, and both of them are loud, and both of them are right beside me. So I take my stance. I have to analyze my situation, and quickly I recognize that one of his friends is right behind me. I'm sitting at the bar, so I can't see him, and I don't turn around. I just hear him say, "If you want a problem, I'll give you a problem." Take this as you will. When a quiet person snaps, fill in the blanks. My shots are real, and I'm always eager, always eager. The last time I snapped, I had to get a lawyer. Yeah, with my mental conditioning. I see threats when threats don't exist. I'm extremely hypervigilant, and it's unconscious. I create the threat sometimes. Yeah. And sometimes at a disadvantage when I have no eyes, I have no leverage, and I can't see my threat. I can't control my actions. So they labeled me OCD. Impulsive, compulsively engaging in actions better left undone. It's not even related to God's purpose for my life. I'm in conflict with myself. I didn't know my father well. I wish I did. I wish I knew what kind of man he was. Maybe he could have protected me from myself, but it wasn't meant to be. So my elder son had to remind me that my killer instinct was lacking emotional intelligence. He said, "Dad, when your emotions are high, your logic is low." Yeah. And we've been engaged in this LeBron-MJ debate for the last decade. Now, I'll tell you all that I'm very proud to announce that all my kids are smarter than me, but when your kid starts to logically explain why your childhood hero isn't the greatest, he unconsciously activated my killer instinct. I forgot he was my son for a minute. I don't know if I'm raising my kids well, man. I really don't. My youngest told me 2 weeks ago that my style is out of fashion. So I chose today to give an ode to MJ. I'm stuck in my 90s uniform. And to my son Dre, Kobe, man, he's not a better version of MJ. I don't know how I'm raising my kids, man. I seriously don't. I'm doing something wrong because they all got opinions of their own. Not a fan, definitely not a fan. I used to yell a lot unnecessarily when I couldn't effectively communicate my position on any particular subject. Most times the anger was triggered by my fear of not being seen and heard. Because as an 8-year-old, you perceive that as neglect. It absolutely influenced how I perceive the world. Yeah, I'm cool with my peers, but I don't have a whole lot of friends. I'm not as stimulated by those recreational activities that grant instant pleasure. I'm more intrigued by the hunt. It's in the process of the chase that I get acquainted with myself. And I got to know my sinful nature. And eventually I began to hate myself and who I was becoming. Yeah, if there's a calling in my life and it's predestined to serve something greater than myself, I'm definitely unworthy. But someone said God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. Yeah. Yeah, this whole concept is rooted in the idea that his power is to be more revered in your weaknesses. I'm glad he found a vessel in me. Say he uses ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. I desperately want to believe there's a purpose for my life. I'm not sure if it's a gift or a burden. Sometimes it feels I'm incapable of carrying it. Can't make sense of it. Gentlemen, there is a high probability that no one will root for you for maintaining discipline. There's a chance that you won't receive praise for developing a healthy routine and a structured lifestyle. There's a chance that your silence might be perceived as a weakness. But through trial and error, through trials and tribulations, I learned it's all guesswork, man. It's all guesswork. Like, I don't know why I'm chasing women with no intentions of supporting or being present. I don't know why I'm attracted to making money without learning how to grow it legally. Yeah, I'm building this body for public appearance. I'm so hollow inside, man. And I got stuck in this loop, unequipped to escape it. Blaming the world for trying to box me in, when in reality, psychologically self-imprisonment. Pride is dangerous, man. It is, at least from my perspective. So I'm glad my father was able to forgive me because it helped me forgive myself. It helped me humble myself. Forgiving myself for who I am and who I'm not as a father above all else. And that revelation was so poetic because I met my father once, a few months before he passed away. And unprompted, he gave me what I didn't know or he didn't know I needed. With the bishop and my bride present, he said he forgave himself a long time ago, and he seemed to be at peace with it. I almost cried when he called me son, first time. I cried like a baby when he passed away. Tried to hide in the bathroom, she caught me. After 35 years of convincing myself I didn't care. It's amazing how much we lie to ourselves when we get caged in survival mode. Yeah, there's no blueprint to becoming the man that I'm meant to be. Especially because I've never seen it done. And with my cognitive condition, I've been able to reset, reframe, and restore my life with God. And as a professional counselor, we're advised against giving advice. Instead, we're charged with guiding our clients to their own solutions to their own issues. So I'm just strictly sharing my personal position. If it caters to your mental health, consider it self-advocacy. Learn how to give yourself what nobody else can. That's just self-love and self-care. And when no one else is present, you learn to accept yourself. So even when they turn their back on you, fictitious or not, I still got my faith. Yeah, faith trumps my survival. It does. I'm less concerned with self-preservation. I'm able to give the world everything I got without thinking about what I'm losing in the process. So I can apologize to my kids and acknowledge my lack of knowledge in being a better father. And although they watch me struggle, they don't really know my struggle. Seeking forgiveness feels easier than asking them to empathize with my plight. 1111 is one of my favorite numbers because it means I'm right where I belong. I prayed for this a year ago. Opportunities are limited for people that look, act, sound, talk, and walk like I do. So providing a lifestyle that my kids desire became part of my struggle. Not being able to deliver the necessary resources so they can view me as their hero. Yeah, makes me feel less than, and it becomes tougher to face my family. So I became an absentee father. Even tougher to face myself. So I turned to a substance for distraction. I just need to reduce the pain. Welcome to my journal entry, by the way. I learned as early as this morning, as I was trying to remember these 8 pages, 30 minutes that I was trying to fill up that I didn't know I was going to have because I was told I was going to do a virtual Bible study. But I said it's probably easier just to read my journal aloud instead of trying to deliver it in a powerful way, because at the end of the day, if I can stand out the way and just give the message, then you receive it how you will. Yeah, I continued to pretend to be somebody I wasn't for a long time. I felt like the world was more accepting of the imposter. Yeah, so now I'm dealing with a midlife identity crisis. My kids can't empathize with their position, and it's unfair to ask them to. And even as this imposter begins to thrive, I feel good about my place in the world until the world reminds me of my true place. They label me as an angry black man. So no matter what character traits I display, I'm a menace to society and I'm a threat to myself. There's nowhere to run. In our community, they teach us that that's part of the struggle. We have to normalize it. That said, strengthens our resolve. I took some much needed time to process my trauma, man. The pain was too great. I didn't want to be another contributor to this generational cycle of early death in prison. I wanted to be a better father. It's hard to feel good about life when life is beating you down. It's tough to feel good about yourself when you can't give yourself the hand you need. Yeah, I created my own safe space to process my hardcore emotions. Couldn't let my peers see it because it kills my swag. I suffered in silence, man. Yeah, as a husband, father, and a father, I did feel like Al Bundy, married with kids. Yeah, I really did. I'm taking care of everybody else's needs. And the only excitement I get in life is fantasizing about not being domesticated every time a cute girl pays me a compliment. Reliving and reminiscing on the glory days, lying about how great I was as a football player. Yeah, there's a series on Netflix that's out right now. That's called Forever. And the father shares some relationship advice with his son after the son had his heart broken for the first time. And the father is portrayed by Wood Harris. I'm a big fan of Wood Harris. But he tells his son, yeah, it hurts, son, because you find a piece of yourself that's worth protecting. And that piece becomes your boundary. And it's great that you can discover that boundary, but don't hide behind it. And the son argued back. He said, it's easier to hide behind it. Life is more peaceful that way. And he said, son, nah. You don't want an easy life, son. You got to man up. A man got to go through the fire and see who he becomes on the other side of the heat. You got to be willing to challenge yourself. Well, with my cognitive distortions, I can't tell if the fire came to ignite my spirit or burn down my reality. But when my spirit is on fire, I'm anchored to my core. It's the foundation of who I am. I'm right where I need to be. It presents a path that provides peace and purpose. But if it doesn't align with my external environment, I made the immature decision to torch it all. Zero concern for my afterlife. Contributing to that decade-long midlife identity crisis. And although it's yet to bear fruit, it's all worth it. I got a note in here to duck because my wife is losing patience. So allow me to state my case. At the age of 13, I accepted what I perceived to be a promise from God. And it bound me to my theoretical truth that he has a purpose for my life. But due to my cognitive condition, to believe or not to believe, I'm still trying to make sense of it. So a year ago, I set off into this unexpected journey. I prayed for this, so I started a Facebook page. First time engaging on social media. I got social anxiety. They don't go together. But the second post I put, I labeled it A Good Man's Broken Silence, and I just wanted to read it aloud for you all. It says, maybe I'm ill for believing angels are actually sending messages that perfectly align with my purpose, despite this nightmare that I'm currently residing in. There's a beautiful fantasy of a future paved with premature promises, allowing me to ignore my surroundings. It's the origin of my inattentiveness, as well as my ultimate dream to narrate stories in which I'm closely related. The common theme is my desire to be remembered. I'm trying to be greater than MJ. Iconic impact is my barometer. And in this present moment, I have the privilege to sit next to her. My fear is gone, man. These mental manipulations have started to dissipate. Only I remain. My personal progress towards maximizing God's gift for my life, it came to a stifling halt. For the longest, I was fighting against myself, attempting to visualize a healthier future. Here's what I learned since then. Before I'm able to move forward in my life, God has to ensure that I'm able to retrace my steps back to Him. He already knew I was lost. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Mark 8:36. It says suffering is a prerequisite to spiritual growth. My growth was cloaked in cognitive distortions. Before I'm able to transcend this world, I had to reconcile with myself by forgiving myself for who I am and who I'm not as a father above all else. Maybe I'm ill. Only time will tell. I will say that this belief that I have has allowed me to be still and accept the peace of mind that comes with God's grace and mercy. For that, I can tolerate the discomfort of social attention. For that, I torch everything around me. Give me a little bit more time. I'm coming, mommy. This feeling is priceless, man. It is. It's just the peace. The peace that comes with serving something greater than yourself. And when you know where it comes from, it feels that much better. There's a lot of commonalities between what we consider the human condition and the human experience. And if you're able to commit to the work, you develop the empathy and the capacity to forgive and be in non-judgment of the next person. And you also reduce the toxic energy that's in our natural environment, reducing the odds of the next generation inheriting our toxic stress because we're too manly to process our pain. Yeah, it continues to be a detriment to our overall wellness. Maybe, when that next 8-year-old kid who's stuck in survival mode marks his target, and he's struggling to make the decision to kill or be killed, maybe he decides to forgive and saves his soul in the process. Fathers, we gotta be better examples, man. We gotta lead the way. Can't ask our kids to do what we're not willing to do. I hope my kids forgive me for my faults, but I understand if they don't. I do. But I just have to, on Father's Day, thank my father for teaching me how to forgive myself. And I thank my Heavenly Father for the mercy and grace that comes with His promise. I thank you all for listening. Hope you all continue to prioritize your wellness. Appreciate your time.